In the last video, we took a look at the new sampler and how you could use the detect transients to slice up the audio. Now in this video, let's take a look at the grid mode. And in particular, I'm going to use it with this vocal part. So what I can do is open up the lower pane, drag this in to create a new sampler instrument, and here we've got the vocal part. Now this audio loop is in the key of G minor. So if I hit G minor, it's going to be the original audio. Now let's go over to slice, and for the mode, let's choose grid. Now you don't see anything because the grid mode is set to a whole bar. Now if I drop that grid amount, you'll notice how you'll start seeing those markers for the slices. So on 8 notes, now you've got this. So it's to the grid, it sliced them up, and you can see how it's playing those parts. Some of the starts and ends are a bit messy, so what I can do is increase the fade out and fade in, so it smooths things off. Now that's great. So quite a simple process of just taking your audio file and slicing it up to the grid. Just to put this into context, let's maybe add a drum loop and then do this vocal part over it. Let's maybe go to Tech House and look for some of the drum loops. So those are hats here, drum loops. Let's take that. So that's the tempo of 125. So I will just drag it in and change my tempo to 125. I'm going to mute this original one and just jump back to the pointer tool, zoom out. Click on this track to go back to the sampler, and let's just increase this out, and we'll play back. So it's as simple as that. You just got a file that you've cut up with a grid, and you can easily add it over some other instrumentation, for example here, like a drum loop. There's no reason you can't incorporate some of the other options and parameters and envelopes in this sampler track over here. So for example, I could enable a filter, roll off some of the highs, dial in some resonance, then maybe on the amp envelope, add some LFO for the panning. Maybe change the filter type. And increase that drive. There you go. So that is how to use the grid mode. For example, here we demonstrated with the vocal take and how we changed the grid size, added some fades in, and used some of the other envelopes. What I just want to quickly point out that I did mention in the previous video is with the modes, you've got transient that you've already seen. You've got grid, which I showed you. You can also combine them. So you've got transient and grid. So now this is going to detect any transients in the audio piece and the grid. So if I pull the threshold down, it's not picking any transients up because this is a vocal take. If I had to take this drum loop and drag this into here instead, use the transient and grid mode, here I can set the grid. And as you can see, it's setting to the grid and other transients that it's detecting. But I like this vocal take, so I'm going to pull this vocal back in. Another thing that I just want to show you is that you can also do it manually. So with manual, if you drag and hold down Option, you can create your own markers. So there I've created my own marker points of where I want to slice audio. And you can actually go in and drag these around to different areas if you want to. So that is how to use the new slice modes that are available in the sampler plus the different playback modes, plus incorporating what's already here in the sampler control track. I'll catch you in the next video where we'll see one more thing with a sampler on what you can do. Catch you in the next video.